Let's talk about the police, shall we? Well, first of all, we're going to talk about what went wrong with policing in 2024. Or shall I rephrase that? What went right? It'll only take 30 seconds. Seriously, what went wrong for policing in 2024? What do we need to do in 2025 to improve a dire situation? But before that, I think we need to talk about the leniency, the increasing leniency with which we treat paedophiles, convicted paedophiles, child sex abusers. Hardly any of them are going to prison, like Hugh Edwards. Remember that? So let's talk about that first. We're going to spend half an hour in the company now of excellent former Met Police Detective Chief Inspector Mike Neville. Hello, Mike.
Happy New Year, Kevin.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Can you imagine if 1,400 Muslim girls had been raped and abused by a Jewish or Christian group? That I'm sure Keir Starmer would be clamouring for an inquiry into that. Shocking.
Yeah. Actually, while we're on, I don't want to dwell on this, but can you, for the life of you, because I can't work this out, work out why it is that Keir Starmer feels that if you believe there should be a public inquiry into the grooming gang scandal, you're far right? Why does he think that?
I can understand it, because you have a man here who's obsessed, who lives in a bubble of left-wing and diversity and the like, and anything. If somebody, there's a whole set of like what you might call victim cards. So if you're a follower of Islam, you are automatically a victim. If you're black, you are a victim. If you're a straight white man, you are an offender. This is how they measure up people. And so when things come along that don't fit that agenda, it's almost like the Daleks when they could not compute. You know, they cannot understand it. And all they can do is throw out this insult that you want this because you're far right. And what they know is that so many Labour councils in particular, and the Tories are to blame for this, of letting it go on, are to blame, though, at every level, and the police, because like the Tower Hamlets voting scandal, people were more concerned with their next rank than getting a finger being pointed racist. Because we know in this country that for many, many years, and hopefully this is going away, the moment that finger pointed and you're accused of being racist, it is like being called a witch 300 years ago. The more you say, the more guilty you are. And this is all the establishment are in that pattern. And they were prepared to see girls abused rather than the racist accusation being made. We live in a country where racism is allegedly a more serious crime than child rape. That's how crazy it is.
Absolutely disgraceful. And we now know Keir Starmer's definition of far right. What makes you far right? You're far right if you do anything that he doesn't like. If you oppose what he feels, if you oppose his policies and you actually do something he doesn't like call for a very necessary public inquiry, he says you're far right. Self-obsessed little weasel. Self-obsessed little weasel. This is a little bit more important than politics. This is about those victims. It is about justice for those victims, and this excuse for a man, Keir Starmer, and his little sidekick, St. Jess Phillips, are playing politics with it, and that, I think, is disgusting, absolutely disgusting. But let's move on. I think this is disgusting as well. We're getting more and more lenient. This emerges today, Mike, with paedophiles. The number of paedophiles jailed for hoarding child abuse images is falling and hit its lowest ever rate last year. Only 17% of the 3,220 people convicted of paedophile offences were jailed. Now, in 2010, we sent nearly 35% of all paedos went to jail. That was 2010. 2024, we're down to 17%. We're letting more and more go, as we saw with Hugh Edwards. They either get one of these community orders, which means you go and paint some old lady's garden fence, or worse still, you get suspended sentences. Now, lest anyone is in any doubt, suspended sentences is code for we hereby let you off. you get sentenced to 2 years jail, suspended, and you just walk out, and as long as you don't get any more trouble, that's it. So something like, what is that? We've got 83% of paedophiles were let off last year. That's a disgrace, isn't it?
It's an absolutely disgrace, Kevin, because what you've got to imagine is that every single one of those pictures these men are looking at and hoarding, every single picture involves a child being hurt, abused, who's left with a lifetime of misery because of that sex abuse. And it's an absolute scandal. And what we have here is almost like, sometimes you get this classism, really, where you get the Hugh Edwardses of this world, where they're part of the establishment, they're middle class, and they don't go to jail. If Hugh Edwards might have put up a few hurty words on his Facebook site after seeing all these thousands of disgusting images, then he might go to jail, because people can't help but see, can they, all the time, that, after Southport, people put some vile and stupid things up on Facebook, but didn't really hurt anybody, and they're given 2 or 3 years in the slammer, whereas somebody like Hugh Edwards is allowing his actions come from a child being sexually abused in the most wicked way. And I can honestly say, Kevin, I was in the police, I saw lots of bad things, murder, death, all sorts of horrible things, which you can sort of brush off and have a pint and move on from. I thought I was a tough guy once, and I stayed in a presentation where they presented about child abuse. I wish I'd never, ever been in that room. So that is, the things you can't unsee, and it's just wicked, evil, and it needs to be dealt with. And the way to deal with it is to lock people up, because they understand that they're doing something wrong. Because, as you say, suspended sentences mean nothing, and they're often not even taken into consideration when they get caught again. And then they're put in, if they do get put in prison, it's for a minimal amount of time. It needs to be gripped, because these are children who are being abused, and it isn't good enough.
Absolutely. And I would suggest, Mike, that no ifs, no buts. Stop all this wishy-washy stuff. You get done for paedophile offence, any paedophile offence, you go to jail. That's called a deterrent. At the moment, the vast majority of paedophiles, many of whom hoard these pictures, thousands and thousands and thousands of these vile pictures of children being raped, being sexually abused, babies, 3-year-olds, 5-year-olds, they have all these pictures. And they basically go to court and they get let off scot-free. Some of them don't even get fined. They just get one of these mythical suspended sentences, which basically means you've got a suspended sentence. Yeah, thanks very much, Judge. I'm off down the pub. I'm free now. So the message to these people is, you can do this. We won't come down hard on you. We need to change that message and say, you get caught with one picture, never mind thousands, one, you're going to prison. I bet you that would reduce this activity.
I absolutely agree with you. But the trouble is, whether we have a Labour government or a Conservative government, we have a very left-leaning establishment who seem to think that these things are acceptable. If you look back into the 70s, there was all sorts of attempts to sort of justify paedophile behaviour. It's absolutely disgusting. And as I say, a lot of the people involved are part of the establishment, like Hugh Edwards. And so there seems to be just let them off. Whereas if you're a sort of a lad with a bald head from a council estate who says some bad things on Facebook, you're going to prison, and people can see this. And it is really perverting how people see justice in this country and just feel that the courts, the police, are not on the side of the person who follows the law and does the right thing. It just seems to be really bad at the moment for that.
I think this country has a worrying attitude to paedophilia, to paedophiles, paedophile crime, paedophilia generally. Look at the BBC. It seems to be a haven. If you want to be a pedo, get a job at the BBC. They'll look after you as much as they can.
And you can't be cured, Kevin. I don't believe you can be cured.
Of course you can't. I agree with that.
The thing is, when you put somebody in prison, particularly those who've abused children physically, if you put a burglar or a robber in prison, you take a chance, you let them out, they may do something again. And if they do, that's a bad thing. But when you let a paedophile out of prison, you're taking a chance chance on a child's life, you know, so we don't take that chance. Just keep them there, lock them up, chemically castrate them, do something to them, because they just bring utter misery and ruin lives forever. And we can't carry on like that.
Yeah, every one of those pictures is the abuse of some poor kid. Every single one of them. And we've got to get tougher on this. This is all wrong. It really is. As I say, I just do think this country needs to recalibrate its attitude to the most dangerous people in our society, and they're called paedophiles. They're people who would do harm to children. They're people who would sexually abuse children. They're people who would rape children. And if we as a nation can't find it in our hearts to come down hard on these people, then we've got to have a serious look at ourselves. This is wrong. Edwards should have gone to jail. He really should have gone to jail. Send a message.
Absolutely.
So definitely we need to do something about this. Listen, Mike, when we come back, let's talk about policing generally. Let's talk about what went wrong in 2024 and what we could maybe do to try to improve things in 2025.